My wife told me, very seriously, that her therapist said asking where she slept last night was a violation of her boundaries and proof that I was being toxic. The part she didn't seem embarrassed about was that her therapist also happened to be her male best friend. So I told her I understood. Then I went and changed the locks. When she tried to come back inside later, I didn't open the door. I stood on the other side and talked through it. I explained calmly that one of my boundaries is not letting strangers into my home. That's when she made a hysterical call to her therapist. For context, I'm Mike, 41 years old. I've been married to Sarah, who's 36, for 6 years. Sarah teaches yoga and calls herself a wellness coach. For the first 4 years, our marriage was solid. Easy, happy even. But about a year ago, she started seeing a new therapist named Dr. Jason. And by new therapist, I mean her old college best friend who had recently gotten a counseling license online. Jason wasn't just her therapist. He was her confidant, her emotional support system, and apparently her spiritual guide. I always thought their relationship felt off. There was way too much texting, way too many inside jokes, and way too many late-night phone calls about existential dread. Still, Sarah insisted he was just a friend who understood her on a deeper level. Now that same friend was suddenly her licensed authority on life and marriage. Almost overnight, everything I said or did became a trauma response. Normal conversations turned into therapy sessions I never signed up for. If I asked her to help with the dishes, I was invalidating her exhaustion. If I asked her to stick to a budget, that was financial abuse mixed with a scarcity mindset. When I asked why she came home at 3 in the morning, I was being controlling. Apparently, basic questions were now psychological violence. Last weekend was where it finally snapped. Sarah went out Friday night for drinks with the girls. She never came home. No call. No text. Nothing. I stayed up until 4 in the morning, sick with worry. I called her friends, one by one, and none of them answered. She finally walked through the door at 11 the next morning. She was wearing the same clothes and smelled like expensive cologne and tequila. I was sitting at the kitchen table, halfway through my 4th cup of coffee. Trying to stay calm, I asked her where she'd been. I was genuinely scared. She responded by rolling her eyes. Actually rolling her eyes at me. "God, Mike," she said, "you're so suffocating." She claimed she crashed at Jessica's place because they were too drunk to drive. I reminded her that Jessica lives 3 blocks away. She could have walked, or sent a text, or taken an Uber. I asked why she didn't call me. She sighed and slipped into that calm, fake peaceful voice she uses when she thinks she's enlightened. She told me she'd talked to Jason that morning. According to him, my need to know where she slept was a trauma response I needed to work through. Asking her questions violated her boundaries. She called it autonomous time. She told me to stop being toxic. She repeated the phrase, "violates my boundaries," like it was a magic spell. That's when it hit me. Jason wasn't just her therapist. She had cheated, and she knew it. She was using her therapist best friend to gaslight me into believing I was the problem for caring. I looked at her closely. That's when I noticed the hickey on her neck, badly hidden under concealer. Something inside me didn't shatter, it hardened. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell or scream. I'm a structural engineer by trade. When a building has a crack in its foundation, you don't paint over it. You condemn it. I told her I understood, keeping my voice calm. I said I respected her boundaries. She smirked, clearly pleased with herself. "Good," she said. She told me she was going to shower and then head to the studio. She said she needed to cleanse her aura. I told her to go ahead. An hour later, she drove off. The second her car disappeared around the corner, I started working. Phase 1, the lockout. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't leave. This is my house. I bought it before we ever met. Her name isn't on the deed. We have a prenup, thank God. I called an emergency locksmith and told him I needed every exterior lock rekeyed immediately. I offered double pay for speed. He arrived in 20 minutes. While he worked, I packed her things. I didn't throw anything on the lawn. That's sloppy. I packed everything neatly. Clothes, shoes, toiletries. I included her garage door opener and disabled her access code. Then I installed a new deadbolt between the garage and the house. Next, I printed a single sheet of paper. It was a screenshot from the Find My Friends app. She forgot to turn it off. She hadn't been at Jessica's. She'd been at the Hotel W downtown. I taped the paper to the inside of the garage door. Then I sat down in the living room and waited. Phase 2, boundary enforcement. She came home around 5. First, She tried the front door. Locked. Then she tried her key. It didn't turn. She rang the doorbell. I watched her through the Ring camera. Annoyance turned into confusion. Confusion turned into panic. She walked around to the garage and punched in the code. Access denied. She tried again. Access denied. She called me. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Same result. On the third call, I answered. Mike, she said. The door's stuck and the garage code isn't working. Let me in. I walked up to the front door. I didn't open it. I spoke through the heavy oak. I can't do that, Sarah. She snapped back instantly. What? Why? Just open the door. I kept my voice steady and calm. Jason says letting people into my safe space who disrespect me violates my boundaries. She went quiet for half a second. Then, what the hell are you talking about? I live here. Not anymore, I said. You told me asking where you slept was toxic, so I decided to remove toxicity from my life. I explained that I didn't know where she slept last night. And honestly, I didn't care. What I didn't know was that she didn't sleep here. And she wouldn't be sleeping here tonight either. She started yelling that I couldn't kick her out, that it was illegal. Actually, I said, you're a guest. You don't pay rent. You're not on the deed. And since you abandoned the marital home last night for a hotel room, I told her to check the garage for the receipt. I've revoked your guest privileges. I reminded her of my boundary. I don't let strangers into my house. And since you refused to tell me who you were with, I added, that makes you a stranger. She screamed that she was calling the police. I told her to go ahead. Tell them you cheated on your husband and he changed the locks, I said. I'm sure they'll rush right over. That's when she lost it. She started screaming and kicked the door. I'm calling Jason, she yelled. He'll tell you how insane you're being. Please do, I said, and put him on speaker. I'd love to hear his professional opinion. Phase 3, the therapist call. She actually made the call. On a Saturday evening. To my surprise, Jason picked up immediately. Sarah, babe, is everything okay? Babe. Interesting choice of professional language. He locked me out. Sarah shrieked. He changed the locks. He's abusing me. He's weaponizing my safety. I raised my voice so it carried through the door. Hello, Jason. This is Mike, the toxic husband. Mike, Jason said, his tone smooth and patronizing. Locking your wife out is a very aggressive act. It shows a deep need for control, he continued. You're creating an unsafe environment. We need to de-escalate. Actually, Jason, I said, I'm doing exactly what you taught. You told Sarah that asking about her whereabouts is toxic. I accepted that. But I have a boundary too. I don't share my home with adulterers. I told him Sarah spent the night at the W Hotel downtown. I said I had the GPS data to prove it. And since she values autonomy so much, I added, I'm giving her 100% of it. She's free to go wherever she wants. Just not here. There was silence on the line. Then Jason spoke, and the therapist's voice was gone. Sarah, did he see the location? I forgot to turn it off, she sobbed. Dr. Jason, I interrupted. You charged our joint account $250 a session. That was to teach my wife how to gaslight me while you two played house. I consider that a bad investment. I told him I was cutting off the funding immediately. Sarah was now responsible for her own therapy bills and her own housing. Maybe she can stay with you, I added, since you're such close friends. Jason tried to recover. Mike, you're misunderstanding the therapeutic dynamic. We should really schedule a session. No thanks, I said. I'm processing this just fine. My process involves a divorce lawyer and a cold beer. Goodbye. I walked away from the door. Behind me, Sarah was screaming into the phone. You said he wouldn't check. You said he was too stupid. Update 1. Sarah didn't leave. She tried to break in through the back window. Unfortunately for her, I'd installed security bars on all the ground floor windows last year. I'm an engineer. Security matters. She threw a patio chair at the sliding glass door. It bounced right off. Impact-resistant glass. She collapsed onto the lawn and cried. She called her mom. She called her friends. Her mom called me. Michael, she said, just let her in. She's sorry. She's not sorry she did it, I said. She's sorry she got caught. She can come live with you. I don't have the space, her mom replied. Sounds like a you problem, I said. Eventually, the police arrived. Sarah had called them, claiming illegal eviction. I met the officer at the door with a folder in my hands. Inside were the deed, our marriage license, and the GPS screenshot. Officer, I said she cheated. I filed for divorce electronically an hour ago. She's not on the deed. She has no lease. Her belongings are in the garage. I opened it. Her bags were stacked neatly. I didn't deny her property, I explained. I denied her entry. The officer looked at the bags. Then at Sarah, who was hysterical. Ma'am, he said, this is a civil matter. He's provided your belongings, and you're not on the title. You can't force entry. I suggest you go to a hotel. I can't afford a hotel, she wailed. He canceled my cards. I sure did, I said from the doorway. Financial autonomy, Sarah? Very empowering. Ask Jason for a loan. The officer cracked a small smile. Ma'am, you need to leave the property. You're causing a disturbance. She left in an Uber. She went to Jessica's place. You know, the friend she definitely didn't sleep with. Update 2. Monday morning. I'm at work, reviewing load calculations for a high-rise project. My phone starts blowing up. Sarah posted a video on TikTok. Of course she did. She's crying. Loudly, but there are no tears. Just noise. The caption reads, My narcissist husband locked me out because I set boundaries. He hates that I have a male therapist. Abuse survivor. She left out the cheating. She left out the hotel. She spun the whole thing as me being jealous of her professional relationship with Jason. The comments poured in instantly. Leave him, queen. He's insecure. Men hate therapy. I didn't argue. I didn't reply to a single comment. Instead, I called my lawyer. Send the cease and desist, I said, and include the hotel receipt in the exhibits. Then I did something petty, and I'll own that. I posted one photo on my Instagram, the account I barely ever use. It was a screenshot from Find My Friends showing her location at 3 in the morning. The pin was parked right on the W Hotel. The caption read, When your wife says asking where she slept violates her boundaries, but her GPS says she slept at the W Hotel. Also, her therapist Jason calls her babe on the phone. Boundaries, I guess. Single. I tagged her. I tagged Jessica. I tagged her yoga studio. The internet flipped immediately. Her comment section went from Yas Queen to wait. You cheated with your therapist at the W Hotel? Real fast. She deleted the video within an hour. By noon, her entire account was gone. Update 3. 2 weeks later. I'm doing great. The house is quiet. Peaceful. I bought myself a new espresso machine. Sarah has officially been served divorce papers. She's contesting the prenup, claiming she signed it under emotional duress. My lawyer laughed out loud. Apparently, emotional duress doesn't apply when you bring your own attorney to the signing. A few days later, she showed up at my office. Security didn't let her past the front desk, so she waited in the lobby. I walked out at 5. She looked smaller. No yoga glow. Just tired. Mike, she said, standing up. Can we talk? Just 5 minutes. I bill my time at $200 an hour, I told her. Can you afford 5 minutes? She begged me to stop. She said she missed me. She said she missed us. She claimed Jason was wrong, that he put ideas in her head. She said she was vulnerable. So now you're blaming the therapist for the affair? I asked. That's a new level of deflection. Did Jason prescribe sleeping with him at the W Hotel? She flinched. It wasn't like that, she said. We just connected. He listened to me. I listened to you for 6 years, I said. I paid off your student loans. I built you a yoga studio in our basement. I supported you while you searched for your purpose. And you thanked me by calling me toxic for worrying about your safety. She swore she could change. She promised she'd stop seeing Jason. I blocked him. I don't need you to stop seeing him, I said. You two deserve each other. What I need is a wife who doesn't cheat. And since that position is vacant, I added, I'm enjoying being single. She broke down crying. Where am I supposed to go? She asked. Jessica's kicking me out. My mom won't take me. Have you tried Jason's place? I asked. I hear his couch is very therapeutic. I walked to my truck. I didn't look back. And then came the real cherry on top. I wasn't the only one who found Dr. Jason suspicious. I did some digging. I found his license number and filed a formal complaint with the state licensing board. Dual relationships. Sexual misconduct with a client. I attached the phone call recording where he called her babe and tried to gaslight me. I included the GPS logs showing them at the hotel together. Sarah had slipped up during that call, said Jason told her I wouldn't check, which implied he was part of the cover-up. Last I heard, Jason is under investigation. His license is suspended pending review. Sarah lost her guru, her lover, her best friend. She also lost her job at the yoga studio. The owner didn't appreciate their reputation being dragged through a public therapist affair. Final update. 6 months later. The divorce is finalized. I kept my pension. I kept my house. More importantly, I kept my dignity. Sarah is living in a tiny studio apartment in a rough part of town. She's working as a receptionist at a car dealership. She texted me last week. "I saw you at the grocery store," she wrote. "You looked happy." I didn't respond. I blocked the number. Because I am happy. I met someone new. Her name is Claire. She's a nurse. On our second date, she texted me when she got home. "Home safe. Had a great time." I replied, "Glad you're safe. Sleep well." She didn't call me controlling. She didn't say I violated her boundaries. She sent a heart emoji. It's incredible how easy life becomes when you're not walking on eggshells made of therapy buzzwords. I inspected the foundation of my life, found the rot, and removed it. Now everything stands solid.